Thank you for tuning in to MacroView Television, and welcome to a brand new edition of Taiwan Outlook, the program that presents the different faces and lets you hear the different voices on Taiwan. I'm your host, Rui Guo. On today's program, we're delighted to have Dr. Harvey Houng, who's currently an advisor of the Environmental Protection Administration of the Executive Yuan of the Republic of China, to talk about issues related to environmental protection and also management waste. Thank you, Dr. Houng, for being a special guest on our program today.
Dr. Wu, thank you, and I'm very happy to come back here. I just came back from Geneva, attending the Basel Convention.
All right. That will be the topic that we want to talk about, Dr. Houng.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. From the time of May 5th, I believe, all the way to May 14th, in Geneva, Switzerland, there were a number of meetings related to three conventions. One is Basel Convention, the other one is Rotterdam Convention, and the third one is Stockholm Convention. They're all related to environmental protection issues and also management of waste. And you were representative from Taiwan to these meetings at the different conventions. Can you tell us a little bit first, what is the relationship between the three conventions, Basel, Rotterdam, and also Stockholm?
Yes, actually, all these three conventions, they were originally separated. Stockholm Convention is trying to prohibit and restrict the use and manufacture of some persistent organic pollutants.
Okay.
And the Rotterdam Convention is specifically for the agricultural chemical usage for importing, exporting, and so forth.
All right.
And the Basel Convention is focused on the transboundary movements of hazardous waste.
Okay.
However, all three of them has the same focus in trying to protect the human health and the environment.
Okay.
So starting 2013, which is 2 years ago, they decided that they're going to have a joint convention together. So starting 2 years ago, they have the three conventions
simultaneously?
Held. Yes, and because there are some
overlapping issues?
Yes, common issues that they will need to have the experts from different areas to stay in the same room for discussions.
Good. And you mentioned earlier at the beginning of the program that you were a participant primarily at the Basel Convention. Can you tell us a little bit about Basel Convention, BC, in the sense of when was it started, who were the major contracting parties to the convention?
Basel Convention started in 1989 and enacted in 1992.
Okay.
The main purpose of the Basel Convention, that's an international treaty designated to control the international, or we call it, transboundary movements of hazardous waste, especially for those developed countries. They are shipping the hazardous waste from the developed countries to the less developed countries.
Okay.
And also to help or assist these less developed countries to develop their own treatment facilities and the disposal ways for they call it environmentally sound management of all these hazardous waste. In other words, try to eliminate the adverse effects from all these hazardous waste to our environment and the human health.
Okay. Who are the major contracting party to the convention?
Yes, right now we have 182 countries plus European Union. So right now we have altogether 183 members.
Okay, and so apparently EU has not signed the treaties.
It has, but it joined the Basel Convention as a group.
Oh, okay, as a bloc.
Yeah, as a bloc.
All right. And what are some of the major principles that Basel Convention would like the contracting parties to follow?
Yes, there's mainly 4 purposes here under Basel Convention. The first one is trying to reduce the generation of waste, of course, specifically for hazardous waste. And then secondly, they're trying to limit the treatment and the disposal of the hazardous locally. In other words, they do not like to see all this waste being moved from one area into the other. Okay. And especially that has been happening for the last couple of years, that they're using these less developed countries as their dump site. Okay. So, this is not a very healthy or very good idea for treating all these hazardous waste.
It simply is wrong. It's
right. And the third, of course, is trying to prohibit or to limit the transboundary movements of these hazardous waste.
Right.
And the fourth is trying to help these countries where they are needed to develop a sound management of their waste.
All right. And Dr. Houng, I have two questions. First, what is the definition of hazardous waste according to Basel Convention? And what are the different ways that the Basel Convention would like to see the waste being managed under the convention of the for the different contracting parties?
The definition of the hazardous waste under Basel Convention, they have a list of they have a list of hazardous waste.
All right.
And
primarily from industrial production.
Well, it has a list of the waste, and all these waste, either they are containing like heavy metals, the
chemicals,
highly toxic chemicals, or either they have a kind of characteristics like explosive, corrosive, or toxic. With these toxic characteristics, they will be considered as hazardous waste. And also under the Basel Convention, if any countries consider this is hazardous waste, then it's hazardous waste, and it's not supposed to be.
You don't have a universal standard.
They do. But plus, if this if this is not listed under the Basel list, but still by considered as hazardous waste by any individual countries. If there is a movement involved with these specific countries, of course, it will be also considered as hazardous waste.
Okay. And you were saying, my question number two was that you were saying that the Basel Convention will oppose, transboundary movement of the, industrial waste or electronic waste or whatever. But what are the ways that the, Basel Convention will encourage will ask the contracting parties or countries to follow?
Okay, actually, the Basel Convention is not to prohibit the transboundary movements.
Discourage, I would suppose.
Well, not actually, because, for instance, if there's a waste generated from some areas, and in the highly developed countries, they can use this material as a raw material and retract, like the precious metals, or this kind of valuable stuff from this waste. Then the movement is allowed.
All right.
So under the Basel Convention, they're encouraging the countries where they have the kind of capacity and the technologies to handle this waste to help the other countries, and they were allowed between countries to sign the bilateral agreements for any movements of
But the
this
agreement,
waste.
of course, will have to be in consistency with the Basel Convention provision.
Of course.
All right.
Of course.
Let me ask you this. We know Basel Convention puts a heavy emphasis on monitoring and control. And suppose some contracting parties violate the convention. What are some of the enforcement measures that the Basel Convention can apply?
For instance, the United States, because of their own consideration, of their own waste.
All right.
They are not a signatory party of the Basel Convention because they are afraid that if they sign the convention, the protocol, they may be, criticized.
Okay.
So up to today, the United States, such a great nation, is still not, the signatory party of the Basel Convention. So over there, if you sign it, you are supposed to
obey,
observe it. Otherwise, in the convention, you see people criticizing it. And this time, when I was attending the convention, I have also noticed that even the general household waste. I hate to name the name of the country, but it's a highly developed country in the world now, and they're still shipping their waste all the way from their countries to Philippines.
Okay.
And been observed, and there was some discussion over there.
Okay.
Even it's a general waste, but that seems to be a big issue no matter where you go.
All right, but how about the enforcement? Do they impose fines?
They do not.
Okay.
They do not.
So the countries...
Not that I know of.
All right, but the countries to the convention can just disobey the convention, and there isn't anything the convention can do about it.
Not
you
that
haven't
I know
heard
of.
anything.
No,
all right.
No.
Dr. Houng will talk about the 3 different conventions in the first part of the program. Basically the Basel Convention, the Rotterdam Convention, and Stockholm Convention. Primarily this time when you were in Geneva, you were going to meetings at the Basel Convention. So let me ask you a little bit. What was the conference theme this year for Basel Convention in 2015? Please.
Actually, from what I've seen, this time in Geneva, of course, they have been always focusing, how to prevent the transboundary movement of the hazardous waste.
Okay.
But this year, when I was there, they spent a lot of time in defining the electronic waste.
Okay. E-waste.
E-waste. And also, they have a lot of discussion on how to prohibit people from illegally transboundary or trafficking the electronic waste from one place to the other.
Okay.
The most difficult issue there is that how people can define what is the used components and which one is end of life of computer.
Oh, okay.
People, they can tell you that, well, look, this is an iPhone, and it's usable.
All right.
Okay, but maybe in America, the iPhone, the first generation, even the second, third generation is not considered as a usable product.
Okay.
But, they can tell you, and they wanted to dispose of it. And, it's still functioning very well.
Of course.
They can tell you that, I'm going to ship it to somewhere in the world for reuse.
Okay.
But they may end up over there in the junkyard.
All right.
Okay, and how to define the waste and
some of the still usable parts of the waste.
Right. The definition is very,
It's a very hot topic, I would imagine.
Yeah, and not very clear.
Not very
not very clear. And this also applies to the tablet, to the computer, to the monitors, and everything.
Of course. And you mentioned that a lot of discussion has been focused on e-waste, electronic waste this year. Now, of course, we'll talk about that in the next part of the program. But given the fact that you spend a lot of time emphasizing e-waste, and Taiwan is considered one of the leading electronic manufacturers in the world.
Right.
What are some of the things or lessons that we can learn from other participating countries on this issue of e-waste? Please.
Yes. In this time, I think I was kind of admire all the participants there. They were working so diligently during the meeting, of course. And I still remember that one meeting they had it until 7 o'clock in the afternoon, and still people still gathering their discussion, discussing how to formulate the regulations and the treaties.
Yes.
And after that, the subcommittee, they went out and joined together and had a further discussion until 11:20 at night.
All right.
After they finished all the...
It's very late.
Right. After they finished them, there was no public transportation, no buses,
To go back to the hotel?
Right.
Oh, okay.
People have to walk back to their hotel.
Good.
Yeah.
Let me ask you that throughout this, 10-day or 11-day conference, that there were moments of relaxation as well. I want to specifically address the opening of the joint exhibition on May 8th, 2015, at which time the director of the Regional Center for Central America and Mexico, Mr. Miguel Araujo, who apparently performed guitar and also sang at the opening ceremony. Can you tell us a little bit about this very interesting opening on the May 8th? Please.
Yes, that is during the science fairs in the Basel Convention. They have a side, exhibition for the science fair, joined together by many regional Basel Convention regional centers. And Mr. Miguel Araujo,
yes,
he has been in Taiwan many times, and I know him quite well.
Good.
And he's also a good friend of mine. He had a speech there during that fair
opening,
openings, and before he started his speech, he just sat down and got a guitar and playing the songs, and he had a very good voice and singing techniques and everything.
Very entertaining.
Right, exactly. And after that, he went on and talked about, how in Central America they're getting together the technologies to develop the environmentally sound management for the electronic waste.
Okay. And what are some of the other issues that might have come up in the different regional center meetings? You mentioned about the opening on May 8th, and there was apparently another one a little later. Can you also share with us what were some of the topics discussed?
Yes, I think during those side events, the second one, Dr. Wu just mentioned, refers to a joint side events by 4 regional centers from Central America, South America, Asia, and Europe. And they were joined together. And during those 2, events, there were people there asking, like the facilities, if you want to, if even you have the good technologies, how you can ensure that these things being handled properly. Like, for instance, in the Central America, like the Miguel Araujo's case, that they had a pretty good battery recycling facilities that they can almost recycle 98% of them.
Well, that's not bad, yes.
Right. No, that's...
Pretty impressive, actually. Yes.
Yeah. And, the second question that the people were asking was that how they can, expand their capacities to, have, because for any technologies, for any business to reach a profitable stage, you have to have a scale of economy.
Of course.
If, trying to join together with many people, over the world.
All right.
And also, I remember quite well that in one of the events that one officer from the United Nations, he was asking the China, the Asia regional directors, he was asking them, what happened if you're trying to treat the waste and it come out that the process or the products is not profitable?
Okay.
You know, because always economic consideration is, you know, one of the most important issues.
Okay.
To be sustainable, you have to make sure that this business is profitable. Otherwise, you know,
nobody's going to get involved.
Right. So there was quite a lot, you know, discussion there. The European people, they throw in their ideas, and also we contribute, you know, to the discussion what we have done here
In Taiwan.
And that was quite, you know, highly appraised.
Okay. And Dr. Houng, we know that you as a representative at the, you know, conference meetings this year, that there are, you know, ways still for Taiwan to be more active, to be more internationally, you know, visible, you know, by participation in places like the Basel Convention conferences. So what would be your suggestion based on the observation that you gathered this year, 2015, also the last time back in 2013? You know, what are some of the ways that we can be more visible, more involved in Basel Convention?
Yeah, that's a great comment. Actually, you know, it's not a question to me. I think it's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
You know, to me, like for any international conference like this, not only we have to participate it, but we have to join them together. Not, you know, in the past, I think what we have been doing in the past is just go in and join them and try to collect the data, collect information. I think we have to take the opportunity to present ourselves, and especially for what we have done, you know, great here in Taiwan. We have to make it world-known.
Okay. And given the fact that, you know, when we talk about, for example, management of waste, and then there's bound to be, you know, some resistance from the industries, maybe even from consumers, the end users. Then how can we, you know, based on your experiences from the conference this year, how can we try to convince the industry people and also regular consumers to be part of this process and make, you know, the government effort in terms of managing the waste a lot more effective?
I think there's one thing that we have done quite well here in Taiwan is we call it extended producer's responsibility.
Good.
We have asked all the producers to be responsible to the end life of their products, not you know, at the point when they sell their products. Okay, they are supposed to have the responsibility even they sold out, you know, their products. They have to have the responsibility for the
entire life cycle.
The entire life cycle. You know, how to recycle them and how to reuse them and how to recover all the, you know, material from their products. And that has been done quite well here in Taiwan.
So maybe, you know, this issue will be one of the many issues that we can offer to other people at the, you know, the next convention.
Yeah, exactly. And even this time in the convention, I was asked by, you know, other people to share our experience.
Well, we're talking about the fact that you were not only at the 2015 Basel Convention, but you're also there 2 years ago when the last convention was here, you know, was held in 2013. Let me ask you, what were some of the major or crucial resolutions reached in the 2013 convention, and also, you know, how has it, you know, been implemented? What has it been, you know, able to accomplish, you know, since 2013 to now? Please.
2013 That was the first year when they had all these 3 conventions joined together. Yeah, so that 2 years ago was the first year for this, they call it Super Cup.
Oh, Super Cup. Okay.
Super Cup.
All right.
Yeah. And during that time, because it's such a big event, so we decided to join those 3 our friends, countries, that to have a side event, and also to share our great experience for the e-waste management with other countries.
And the 3 countries that you have in mind is Burkina Faso, Guatemala, and Gambia.
Right, correct.
And what was the side event about in the 2013 convention?
Because in the past, we have many friends coming from all over the world to Taiwan and to learn from us how we are managing our e-waste and how can we manage it so effectively and efficiently. So that time, since we're going over there for this big event, we decided that we would, take these opportunities to share the experience with other countries as well. And, interesting enough is that after that meeting, I went on, a year later, I went on to join the OECD meeting in Paris. And I met some, representatives from other countries, and they still remember our, speech in the Basel Convention. Yeah, right.
All right. So it's something that people remember us by. And can you tell us that, upon the side event, what were some of the, reaction from countries and, places who have come to the event and saw the exhibition, saw the, the entirety of the efforts of the EPA in Taiwan, and what was their reaction? What was their response? Were they saying that, hey, Dr. Houng, we would like to come to Taiwan and learn more from you?
Yeah, actually, that's a fact.
Okay. All right.
This year,
in 2015,
we had a side event with the Kingdom of Swaziland.
Oh, Swaziland.
And when we met together, the representative from the Kingdom of Swaziland came to me and say, "Hey, Dr. Houng, I'm glad to see you here." And then I realized that he came over here last year, to join in my lecture for our waste management.
Terrific.
Yeah. So actually, after our approach to many other countries in the international events like this, our achievements has been quite well known
and recognized.
Recognized by many countries, and they came over here from time to time and joined us in my lectures and so forth.
All right. Yeah. And I think by going to these conferences and meetings, it's not only an occasion for Taiwan to present or to explain what we have been doing in Taiwan, but also trying to learn from the international practice, generally accepted international norms in terms of waste management, in terms of environmental protection. Let me ask you, Dr. Houng, we have been going to Basel Convention since the last few years, and then what were some of the concrete actions or policies that our EPA, Environmental Protection Administration, has been able to implement since being going to these international forums? What are some of the things that, for example, maybe we're doing more than what the international norms? Maybe, some other issues, maybe we're not doing enough. What are some of the examples that you can share with us?
Yes, we, Taiwan is not, of course, not a signatory party of the Basel Convention. But even that, we follow the Basel Convention protocol very well. We are actually one of the good examples for carrying out the Basel Convention protocol.
Okay.
And we follow, almost step by step on the requirement listed under the Basel Convention. We do have bilateral agreements with Japan, where we, have exchange of our waste, especially, that can be used as a resources, and we ship it, transport it to Japan, and sometimes we import it from them.
Okay, and the Basel Convention, I would suppose, the emphasis this year was on e-waste, but there were also discussion, I would imagine, on other issues, other waste. For example, nuclear waste. Was that issue ever came up? Or, for example, general industrial waste, and some of the more chemical-related waste. Are these related issues on waste management? Did they ever come up?
Nuclear waste is not
covered
by Basel Convention.
Okay.
Okay, but the industrial waste, of course, especially if that contains any hazardous substances.
Okay.
It is highly regulated under Basel Convention.
Okay, and how about, you mentioned that household waste was also briefly, mentioned this year in the convention.
Right.
Would you think that maybe in the future this could become another important issue for many of the contracting parties to pay more attention to?
Yes. In the past, the general household waste is not the priority of Basel Convention.
Okay.
But this time, in the general meeting, I don't remember the country. There are two countries. They raised the issue. They asked the convention to spend more times for developing the management scheme for the general household waste. Okay, and then after that, they had a very, a very good discussion on these issues.
Okay, and would you imagine that, maybe in the future, that some of the more, developed or leading industrial countries of the world, for example, many in the European Union, can offer some other areas of, for example, waste management, environmental protection. Maybe they can share more of their experiences. For example, in Germany, talking about green buildings and other things. Maybe all these things will come up in addition to industrial and electronic waste in Basel Conventions of the future. For example, in 2017, when you have another conference, maybe these issues will come up. What do you think? Yeah,
I think that's for sure. Especially after this year, the general household waste will be a big issue, and there will be more people. They will be, focusing on this issue, and there will be more discussion on that. The exchange of the management scheme, the technology of the disposal and treatment will be more, observed.
Okay, and when we look at international conventions like these, sometimes it's hard, not to see that countries or contracting parties to the convention are broken down into two camps. One is more developed countries, the other one is developing or underdeveloped. But do you think that conventions like this can really help these countries around the world try to bridge their differences, whether it's in terms of, vision, in terms of technologies, or in terms of, ways of doing, ways of thinking about these issues? Do you think the forum offers the opportunity for the two camps to be together and really narrow the gap?
Yes, of course, because, people are joined together in the discussion. And when they discuss it face to face, they will have more understandings to each other. And they will know the needs exactly, from the other side of the countries. And they will be able to provide what is, actually needed from the other side.
Yeah. All right. And finally, before we break for another on the program, is that Dr. Houng, what is the general reaction and position of countries in Asia All right. For example, you talk about China. Did China have a representative going to?
Oh, of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Okay. What was their, position on some of these issues?
They are quite active in this convention because, of course, we all know that China has been developing quite rapidly and quite well in the past few years. And in the international, convention like this, they are joined it, and they also made a great contribution to the convention as well.
Terrific. What we're talking about this year's convention theme at the Basel Convention 2015 is on the management of e-waste, electronic waste. And certainly a lot of people will look to Taiwan as a model, for them to follow, for them to be, emulated from. And given the fact that, we have done very much in this area of waste management by the EPA. And can you tell us what are some of the specific measures and policies that our government, our EPA, has been implementing over the years? Please.
Yes, the e-waste, because Taiwan is one of the major countries in the world manufacturing most of the electronic equipment.
Yes.
So we are pretty well known for, for
electronic waste management. Yes.
So, we started having this e-waste management program quite early.
Okay.
Even in 1997, 98.
Good.
We had started managing this e-waste, electronic and electric waste.
Oh, okay.
Okay, including not just the computer, but also the air conditioning, the refrigerator,
battery cells.
Yeah, all these together. Okay. Right. And the way we are doing it, like I explained to you, the financial motivation.
Yes.
Is a key. And sometimes, when you are facing all this stuff, you do not have enough financial motivations. So in Taiwan, we have developed this 4-in-1 program that we charge upfront to the manufacturers and the importers a certain recycling fees. Okay. And we use that fees to subsidize for the recycling. Okay, so in that case, for those things that is not originally having the financial profit will become profitable in the end. Right. And this is also, one of the story that I share with the audience in the Basel Convention, that how we are managing it, because, they are worrying about having all this waste collected. Yes. And nobody want to spend money to treat it. Okay. Because, you are not able to recover what you spent. Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. But in Taiwan, since we have this system here available, we use that to subsidize the recovery. And the beauty of this program is that that money is not coming from the taxpayers. No. Okay, it's coming from the manufacturers. So it doesn't cost the government or doesn't cost the taxpayer anything.
Okay, good. And what will be, in your view, what would be some of the challenges ahead? For example, maybe one day the fund may not be enough to recover and manage the waste. If the EPA suppose raises the fees, and would there be resistance from the industry people?
We have a free committee. They join it,
they're also part of it
from time to time. Okay. And they're supposed to have a reserve, under there to make sure that these are safe operations. Okay. And they meet, on a regular basis, and they evaluate it, the reserve on the fund. Okay. So this has been going quite healthy.
All right. And in terms of education, especially educating the consumers, about once your computer has been used over 15, 20 years, then, do they have enough information or education, know what they should do with that old, outdated computer?
Yes. We do have a lot of program to educate it. people, the general public, even from the elementary school or the kindergartens.
Okay.
But I think that is very important.
All right.
But if we add it on with some financial subsidies, like if they recycle their computer, the old ones, to the recycling systems, they will get some encouragement,
incentives.
Yes. Yeah, incentives. Then they were most likely to do it.
Okay. And another issue I want to discuss with you is, Dr. Houng, on the Partnership for Action on Computing Equipment, which is PACE, P-A-C-E. Can you tell us what it is and what does it do? And what is Taiwan's involvement in PACE? Please.
Like I mentioned, Taiwan is a big country.
Yes.
As far as the manufacturing of the electronic equipment.
Yes.
And also in the Basel Convention, the electronic waste is their major concern.
Of course.
So in 2008, they have established this PACE that we call it a Partnership for Action on Computing Equipment. And they're trying to join together the government, the major industry leaders, the NGOs, and the academia together for discussing how to reach the environmentally sound management of the computing equipment.
Okay.
And of course, Taiwan is one of the major countries under this
program.
So we have joined it in 2008. Okay, and during the past several years, we were only joined it. We also contributed, what we have done here and share our stories. And when they had the PACE meetings every year, we not join them. We also take our major manufacturers of our electronic equipment to join them all together, so we can share all the ideas. For instance, I still remember one time when we were there, I was telling them, why we are having all these tablet and mobile phones using different chargers and batteries.
Yes.
And we had a discussion there, and why we don't unify them, because every time when you replace your mobile phone, you have to buy another charger.
Exactly.
And what do you do with the old one? Even it's still working. Okay, so we had a pretty good discussion, and now we can see that the charger itself has been pretty much,
there are some, that are reusable with other, brand makers.
Not only that, most of them they're using the micro USB, contact, except Apple. The iPhone
myself, yes.
They have their own standards, but the Android system, they're pretty much using the same chargers that is exchangeable.
That's compatible.
Yeah, it's compatible. So when you replace your mobile phone,
you don't have to replace.
You do not have to replace the chargers. And battery, we mentioned it, but apparently battery is a big issue because they have different standards, different contact points, and different capacities, and it's probably pretty much difficult for them to reach the agreement. Especially these days, the mobile phone, they're not their batteries are not replaceable, so it's even more difficult to
try to reach a common standard.
Right, yes. But as we can see, the chargers for the mobile phone, it becomes interchangeable.
Yes. All right. And Dr. Houng, we know, unfortunately, that PACE, P-A-C-E, will come to an end by the end of 2015. What was the world community do about the next step? How can Taiwan be another part, play another part in the new organizational program?
Yes. In this time, they had a discussion on the PACE feature. right. Because they pretty much feel that the PACE has already done what they are supposed to do, is to formulating the policies and helping spread out the message, training the people, and provide assistance to the countries where they need it. And the next step is to probably to gather together an action plan for the implementation for whatever they have learned from the PACE. Okay, so this time I went talk to the chairman of the PACE, and we are good friends. I know him from the OECD meetings, and I went talk to him, and he was quite appreciative to our participation in the PACE for the past few years, and of course he promised us that when the new action group was formulated, he will help us to get into that new organization.
We know that Dr. Houng, you probably heard a lot of people giving you ideas and suggestions about how Taiwan can be more active, under the Basel Convention or in a similar organization like PACE in the future. And we apparently learned there was a suggestion made by Mr. Miguel Araujo, again, about what Taiwan can do. Can you share with us his suggestion, and what do you think that, in addition to his suggestion, what do you think there are areas that Taiwan maybe can do more, maybe we can be more visible and active?
Yes, Miguel, he also suggested us, of course, we need to follow up on the PACE, the new organization of the PACE. And he will also try to see any ways to help us to participate in their activities. In addition to that, he also suggested to us that if we can join the expert groups on the environmentally sound management under the Basel Convention. And because he feels that we do have such a great experience and successful stories there that we can share with the rest of the world. So he suggested to us that if we can, he will also try to help us to join this group.
Terrific. That sounds like a very good suggestion.
Yes.
And Dr. Houng, thank you very much for being a guest on Taiwan Outlook again. I want to wish you all the best in the future for your personal and professional endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, thank you very much for watching our program today. I'll see you next time on MacroView Television. Thank you.